So I watched Call Her Daddy with Leah so that you don't have to. And just I want to make this kind of a short video because I think there's a lot of videos already out there that people have been doing a really good job on giving an overview, but I just have a few thoughts on it. And this is Bits of Banter with Antoinette. And please, before we get into it, like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. I really appreciate it. Okay, so first of all, I don't even really feel like Alex Cooper did a better job on this one than she did with Rob. Because in general, I think Leah is just such a star. She really carried this and she really led this. I mean, even just her storytelling alone, her storytelling about, she talked about how she had sex with this one athlete and how he spread his cheeks and how it was just so gross that she literally didn't even take her shoes. She just ran out of there and ducked when he tried to kiss her goodbye. And she's like, and to this day, this man still messages me. I mean, so she just is, she's lively, she's dynamic. And she really has there's a feel about her that's very humble. Like you can tell that she really did just become an influencer. Some of the things that I felt like were important were how much she talked about PPG. That was really, really sweet. And she talked about how Serena and Janae they really were that close, if not even closer than what we got to see. And then she also talked about Miguel and how Miguel, like pretty much what she's saying is that we really didn't get to see how close that they were actually friends beforehand. And then what we saw was when he came up to her and said like, hey, I actually kind of like you, but there was a whole lead up to that he had been asking her friends about her, that like they had a good banter. They had gotten to know each other. They were like really good friends. So there's a lot of stuff in this. I'm like, wow, they really didn't show us that. Also, when it comes to Rob, she's over him. I think that's something that as fans, it seems like some fans aren't ready for that information, but she's over him. So I think it's something we all got to accept. I'm happy about it. I think Rob is just epitome of toxic man, you know? So for me, I can see how, honestly, a lot of our rom-coms, things that we watch as women, as men, really, really help us to look for that toxic relationship. So I can see how as a conglomerate or as a people, there is a lot of lore or excitement around if Rob and Leah got back together because of that push-pull, that toxic roller coaster of their relationship is something that even in rom-coms, we look for. It's at highs and lows. And that's why it works in rom-coms, because it really helps the viewer really get engaged. We're like, oh, we're so sad. We're so like, oh my God, this is so horrible. Oh my God, this is so exciting. We didn't think they'd get back together. But in real life, you don't really want that. You don't really want that. So she's over Rob. So I think that's something let us sink in and let's be done with it. Also, something that really made me feel that she was a real person. Do you mean? Not just a real person, but someone who represents how a lot of women feel. We Call Her Daddy, or Alex Cooper, asked her about how she felt when Rob said that they had no sexual chemistry. She was like, everything bad she's ever thought about herself went running through her head. She felt disgusting. She felt, not wanted, all those things, as well as just like everything about her look. She felt like, what's wrong with me? And I think that's something that I kind of knew it watching her, but it's very obvious that she has a lot of insecurities. She's gorgeous, but she's been through it. You can tell she's been through some shit that is obvious that she hasn't been treated well. She doesn't actually believe she's as good looking as she is. And as women, and me too, I have been through a lot of negative relationships where it really did make me question my own worth. And that's what somebody like Rob does, is they make you question your worth. And the longer you stay with that, the more it chips away. And so him saying that, even though on his interview, he was like, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. We all remember it. We all remember it because it was so shocking. And I feel like there was a part of this that they ended up cutting off, which I wanted to hear more. I wanted to hear Alex tell her more about what Rob had said in the interview about how his version of it was like, no, it's not that we didn't have sexual chemistry. It's just more like he felt like she wasn't into it because she was pulling away or not giving everything. But that was because he kept telling her, oh, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. And we hear from her side that Rob said that a lot. Like he continuously was like, oh, don't hurt me, be gentle. And in his interview, he said, I mean, maybe I said it like once or twice, but it was a joke. But from Leah's standpoint, she's like, every time we kissed, he said that. So I was trying to be gentle. And then he used that to be like, oh, we don't have sexual chemistry. And I don't really feel like we got to see that whole clip of Alex explaining that to her. And I feel like that I wanted to see that. I wanted to see her like, even though it was still confusing, I wanted to see in some ways her relief of like, oh, this man's crazy. Oh, this man is cray cray. Okay, I get it. Because you can tell that she was still hurt and she had some tearful moments there, honestly, some tearful moments. And that made me tear up too. It was sad. One thing that I didn't really love, and this is because, and I don't want any haters coming because I really like Leah, but I think the people I like, I also hold accountable. So I did not like her conversation about the Connor thing. She had just come off, when she talked about Connor, she had just come off of talking about how with Rob, he had told her that like, hey, I want to get to know Andrea, but like, I haven't forgotten about you. They had gotten a kiss. She had kissed him before he went on the date. She had made him a sandwich. And then when he came back, he just completely ignored her, went upstairs with Andrea and had that 2-hour talk. And then we all remember when she came up like, hey, lovebirds, can I talk to Rob? We all remember that scene. And we were like, T. It was amazing. But she talks about how pretty much he had acted like he was going to get to know both of them. But that's not what ended up happening. He basically just was off her. And she had to watch them like make out and cuddle in public. And it was really hard for her. It was really difficult. And she was really hurt by it. And it just felt like she had just been forgotten. And so then with Connor, she was like saying that during that time, she did feel like she really did like him. And part of her felt like in the end, she felt like it ended up being like she was just confused. Like she confused liking him with just liking that he was there for her. And it was more that she liked him, but not like actually liked him. She got confused in there. And I can see how that happens, especially when you're in a vulnerable position. Some guy that you really like just really dropped you like a bad habit. And you're on TV and you're having to watch this. You're trying to be measured with your emotions, but you're hurt. And then this other guy comes in, who's good looking, who's nice, giving you all this attention, really supporting you. And I think the initial reaction to that is to lean in. And in some ways, you're probably going to your mind's going to in some ways like that person, even if you don't actually really like them in a romantic sense. And once you've started to heal a little bit, you'll start to notice that, oh, I'm really not as into this. And it sucks that that's the way the brain works, but I can see how that happened. However, when she talks about this, she's like, we really started to like each other. We really started to get together. And then she says, Janae was really over it before it started. But it's pretty obvious, like we all have eyes, that Janae wasn't. She didn't bring up how she yelled at Janae saying, he's not your boyfriend. She didn't bring up about the fact that she was laughing with Connor after he threw the water in Janae's face and said oh, I had to throw some shade. And she egged that on and said yeah, sometimes you got to get your feet dirty or something like that. And yes, sometimes you got to throw shade. This is your friend, right? This is one of the P's of the PPGs, right? So why would throwing shade at your friend be something funny? And she really didn't address that, as well as after saying this, I felt like it was very rich that she said all these things after she had just talked about how watching Rob and Andrea making out and everything in front of her face and like she didn't exist was so painful, but she couldn't see how painful it must have been for Janae to literally have the exact same thing happen. So I think that for me was the part that I was like, I just really wish. It's very obvious that Alex Cooper has not watched the show because she really didn't have enough wherewithal to be like, let's check this. I think a good interviewer is able to not only bring out and talk about and not only right wrongs, you know, I mean, bring up things that maybe this person has been, you know, falsely or wrongly hated for something. I think that's part of the interview is making sure that we write those, but also holding the interviewee accountable for things that maybe they haven't been held accountable for. And that's something that I think Alex Cooper failed on. And that's definitely something that Leah failed on here as well. She also talked a lot about how her and her sister are very, very close and how much she missed her and how much Serena was like her sister, like how that's like their personalities are very much alike. And I thought that was really great. And you get to see a little bit, how much she was leaning on Serena for to that pick me up and to also not go back to Rob because Serena was like, no. And we even saw that a couple times when in the show when she would say things like, oh my God, he's so cute. And Serena was like, what? And this is all, and Serena's like acting that way because you're saying all this after this man has literally read you to filth and you're still saying he's attractive. So Serena was a big part in helping her try to move past Rob. But she has made it very clear that they are just friends now. And she is very much in strong liking with Miguel. And he really has been her protector or whatever. She did talk about that Miguel and her after, in the hotel after the show ended, did end up having sex. So, I mean, we all kind of knew that. I think that was just implied, but she confirmed it. There's another thing about Kanye West that Alex Cooper brought up, where I guess Leah basically kind of confirmed that she did date him. I don't know if I needed to hear that, but okay. It does seem, and this is no shame, because I think that I love a woman who is very much owns her sexuality. And that could mean by having slept with a lot of people, not sleeping with a lot of people, whatever, that is comfortable in their sexuality. I love that. And I think Leah is. But there's also some things like the Kanye West thing that are concerning, as well as some of the stories she was bringing up about sleeping with some of the athletes or people that are it seems like she slept with a lot of people that are older than her, and she's only 24. And turning 25. And I'm like, when did all these things happen? She seems like she's lived a life in such a short period. And I'm like, when did all these things happen? That's what I wonder. But you know what? This is LA. I'm in Maryland. A lot of crazy things don't happen like that. So I think it's a lot more like LA lifestyle. But I was like, I want to hear so much more stories from her. I feel like she has a lot to say that we don't even have the time for it. We need to become friends so I can just sit there and be like, so what happened when you were 20? Let's just go down that year. Tell me everything. Cause her storytelling is amazing. Then what were some other things that she talked about? So she also talked about the Kaler situation and that basically when she was heading to the airport, she got her phone back. She was getting all these texts and they just told her that they were going to actually pick up Kaler and Aaron, and she was excited. And that's when she found out about the voicemail. Not the voicemail, about the incident with Kaler, about Kaler's friend over Aaron's live saying that nobody will remember Leah in 6 months. And I thought this was important because she pretty much said, she's like, hey, I don't really blame anybody for how they act. In this experiment, I think it's very strong emotions. Also, this friend was probably trying to just console her. There's an aspect of this where I don't think this friend was just trying to console her. I think they were talking crap to each other. And yes, then this friend also said this one thing. But it very much was like Leah was unbothered. And the reason I feel like she was unbothered is because Kaler is a non-entity, a non-issue for her. I think she likes her. They're friends. but they're not friends. If that like if Serena had said this would have hurt to the core. But Kayla is Kayla. Just like Janae said, Kayla's going to do Kayla things. I think Janae wraps it up there. It's not something, it's like, am I going to get mad because Kayla is being Kayla? No. Am I going to get mad because this girl who did the white woman scared thing is being white woman scared? No. Am I going to be mad that someone who probably does hate her things is going to hate? No. So I think it pretty much is what it was for her. She's like, I just don't really care. If this is somebody that I'm really close to, like my best friend, like the girls, like I think are my sisters, like Janae and Serena, then yeah, that's going to hurt me. And I'm going to be like, wait, what? Because obviously it's not, this is your friend and just say this out of nowhere. So that's what I got of her, especially with how chill she was acting. I was like, she really didn't care. She's like, okay, yeah, Kayla, whatever. Because Kayla's a non-issue. Kayla's not something she thinks about at night. She's not waking up. She's not at night thinking about what Kayla thinks about her. And I think that in itself is an insult. She's not trying to insult anybody, but that in itself, if I was Kayla, I'd be like, ooh. The fact that she cared so little, I'd be like, wow, you do not give a crap about what I think about you. That's how I feel. But there was also some things about her trying to be like, Kayla's not a racist and all that stuff. And I felt like there were certain things that she did that really, really weren't up to her to say. And I'm not here to argue what she said. I do think that there are some things, especially the white woman scared issue, and Kayla really just being very much being called a racist or being called a white woman or being called a young white woman with privilege is not hate. That you're not getting hate. You're not getting hate. I think these are things, people pointing out things to you. Just like if you're above a certain socioeconomic bracket, there's a privilege there. Just like if you are a man, there's a privilege there. And then being a white man, there's a privilege there. And being a white woman, there's a privilege there. So there are certain things that, this might not be for everybody who watches this. Not everybody is willing to take this type of consideration. And I get that. And I'm really not here in the comments to like school anybody. That's really not for me to do. But there is a factor here that I didn't feel it was Leah's place to stand up for Kayla in that way, because she doesn't really, even though they're friends and all this stuff, there are certain things that we don't really know where Kayla is on her journey of being anti-racist. We really don't know. And I don't think that in this villa, it's something they really talked about. And especially in this, she even talked about how she's like, yeah, it didn't make any sense how the way Kayla reacted. She's like, I was pointing towards a balcony. My hand was nowhere near her. And I have my whole deep dive on Kayla's white woman scared on another video. And I'll link it in the bio. And she's like, and then she was like acting like that. So it was very obvious that this was a dramatic reaction to someone literally not getting anywhere near you. And I think that there is, I'm not going to do it here, but there's a place to talk about how she reacts to people of color, whether Leah is white passing or not. But I think Kayla is very aware that she is not white. And I think subconsciously there are a lot of racial issues that Kayla has exhibited. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So I felt like she went a little too far trying to apologize for Kayla. I think she should have left it at, I'm not really worried about what Kayla thinks, and me and Kayla are good. And you know what? Hey, I'm good with her being good with that. It's very obvious that Kayla is not her best friend. Like, if this was her best friend and she's like, I'm okay with it, then I'd be a little bit more worried for her. But this isn't her best friend. They're cool because she honestly does not care about Kayla's opinion about her. So that, I felt like that was interesting. I think those were the main points. I might be missing something. She had a lot of stories, but I think these were like the hot button issues. She really likes Miguel. She's not into Rob. Kayla and her are fine. PPG are going strong. She loves them. And And also just how all the Rob stuff happened was really quite painful for her. And I would say, if you are going to watch this, watch it, because watch parts of it at least, because there are parts that really may help you really feel how she felt in there. Oh, this is something. Her talking about how she, literally the producers and the psychiatrists, the psychologists that was in there, were quite worried for her. She had times where she would like be in the psychologist's office 3 times in a day, like hour-long sessions. Like she was spiraling daily. Only her and Miguel didn't get, like everyone else, like other than the people that got the video calls from their family, and then Janae and everyone else got letters. Her and Miguel got nothing from their families. So she was actually thinking that her family had like disowned her, had abandoned her. And there's a part of this where she laughs and stuff, but I'm like, I actually think she was quite unwell in the villa. She was not feeling emotionally stable and was emotionally spiraling. And that's something that was very troubling to hear. And it's something that I kind of assessed, and we've talked about this a lot in other reality TV shows. And there's a part of this that this is why reality TV shows are great. You know, like some of this kind of testing people's mental fortitude is what makes reality TV great. But the fact that she was spiraling so much, the fact that in the villa, she really felt hated. She felt hated. She felt forgotten. She really did not think anybody liked her. Like, that's another level. Having 6 weeks and feeling like that, no matter what, that takes a toll. And even though now she's come out and she's realized this, that's not going to completely undo the damage that's been done. So I think that's something that we need to consider. And I hope that within all this, she does get some help to process some of the damage that was done and that happened in the villa. That's what I hope for her. I think that would be best for her. So in general, those are my main takeaways. And pretty much until next time, guys, I love these little chats of ours. Love you, mean it. Bye.